I, Gurveen Kaur, and my colleague Ashish Sharma will discuss about the various Azure networking components and its importance. We hope that you will find this video useful and that it will help you understand how does Azure networking works for you with Sitecore. Before we move forward, a brief introduction about us. I work as a cloud operations engineer at Sitecore. I have 5+ years of experience in Azure infrastructure. I am a certified Azure administrator and have worked with more than 300 customers. My colleague Ashish Sharma is also a cloud operation engineer at Sitecore. He is a certified Azure and Kubernetes administrator and have 5+ years of experience in Azure infrastructure services and have worked with more than 300 customers. In this video, we are going to discuss about Managed Cloud Standard, importance of Azure Networking, Sitecore Managed Cloud integration with Azure CDN, infrastructure security, support for Application Gateway WAF v2, Managed Cloud Standard, case study for Application Gateway WAF v2, Azure Front Door and its features, comparison between Azure load balancers, and a quick summary. What is Managed Cloud Standard? It is a Sitecore's hosting solution where the responsibility of the environment is shared between Sitecore Managed Cloud teams and the customers along with their partners. Managed Cloud Standard team provides Sitecore infrastructure baselines for all the versions of Sitecore, starting from Sitecore 8.2 to 10.0. It helps to host and manage your Sitecore cloud deployments on Microsoft Azure. It provides 24/7 monitoring for your resources in Microsoft Azure and identifies issues and provides remediations. It also provides consumption reports and uses Azure Dashboard, which is helpful for providing analytics and diagnostic reports for your resources in Microsoft Azure. It also secures your resources by providing network security. Based on working with numerous successful managed cloud standard implementations, we would like to share these Azure networking best practices with you. I hand over to Ashish to discuss more about importance of Azure networking.
Thanks, Gurveen. Networking is a critical component of any cloud infrastructure. Developers need to connect cloud resources and optimize application performance, all of which depends on solid network architecture. Microsoft Azure Networking offers various capabilities to connect and manage cloud resources beyond virtual network and number of connectivity options. Azure offers services to manage and monitor traffic, perform load balancing, and ensure secure user connection. A reliable cloud network provides a centralized management which allows to deliver faster content in a secure way. Now we will discuss why does performance of web application matter. Whether it's the bank, in restaurant, in traffic, nobody likes to wait. The same is true with online web application. A website's load and response time have a major impact on the user experience. Some of the web busiest sites have found the impact to be significant. Google found that 500 millisecond slowdown equals to 20% decrease in ad revenue. Amazon finds a 100 millisecond slowdown can decrease 1% revenue. Yahoo found that 400 millisecond improvement in load time translated to a 9% increase in traffic. These findings show that how much speed can impact the bottom line. More speed means more visits, longer visits, and more revenue. Website speed is not an abstraction that only few can care. According to one survey, 20% of users say that visiting a slow site makes them more likely to visit a competitor. Hence, speed and performance really matter. Speed and performance of a web application has become a significant factor in how well your site sells your services and represents your brand. In our next slide, we will discuss how can we speed up Sitecore Managed Cloud instances. Sitecore offers the customer to integrate their application with Azure CDN. CDN servers are usually distributed across different physical locations. Having distributed nodes across different geographical locations increase availability. The CDN server also store cache and act as a mediator between origin of the web application and client. If your Sitecore application is heavy on content from Sitecore Media Library, you can offload your Sitecore instances by allowing images to be retrieved from CDN and helps to reduce the load on application. This reduction in load can help to increase the performance and scalability of the application, as well as minimizing hosting costs by reducing the processing resources required to achieve a specific level of performance and availability. It is easy to integrate and deploy CDN with Sitecore Managed Cloud. CDN can be deployed via Marketplace or ARM template in Sitecore Managed Cloud. When a user requests a media item, CDN responds to the request by utilizing the closest CDN server to the user. First, CDN attempts to use the cache of the CDN server. If the cache is available, the CDN server responds directly to the user. Otherwise, it sends a request to Sitecore for the content. The CDN server then stores the content in cache and responds to the user. Sitecore supports the Azure CDN service in its integration with standard Sitecore Managed Cloud topologies. Currently, the only Sitecore feature that supports a CDN is Sitecore Media Library. However, developers can customize the media library to use CDN for static resources or other assets. For example, instead of using relative URLs to link CSS or JS file, you can use absolute URLs to connect to a CDN endpoint. In our next slide, my colleague Gurveen will discuss more about security and how can we secure Sitecore Managed Cloud from cyber attacks.
Thank you, Ashish. Security issues are becoming a day to day struggle for online web applications. The number of security attacks occurring each year has been increased. One of the recent security research suggests that most companies have poor networking infrastructure in place, which make them vulnerable to security issues. When we talk about security, what comes to our minds? How do I protect my application from malicious attacks? How do I control network and application access to resources? How do I enable DDoS protection for my applications? How do I do segmentation and isolation to protect my resources? How do I enable zero trust security model? Nowadays, there are various technologies available which can mitigate the risk of security attacks. One of the most effective is the Azure Web Application Firewall. Sitecore Managed Cloud also offers and provides support for Azure Application Gateway WAF, which provides centralized protection for your web applications. Azure Application Gateway is a web traffic load balancer that provides application layer load balancing and includes the web application firewall. Web application firewall protects your web apps by filtering, monitoring, and blocking any malicious HTTP or HTTPS traffic traveling to the web applications. The WAF sits on the outside of your network in front of the public side of the web application and monitors incoming traffic, which helps protect you from cyber attacks. It is a useful technology for preventing attacks related to common cyber attacks such as SQL injection and brute force attacks. Microsoft has released Azure Application Gateway v2 and Web Application Firewall v2, which offers significant improvements and additional capabilities to the customers for their instances. So let's discuss some new features of WAF v2. It allows you to perform scaling of the number of instances based on the traffic. The virtual IP assigned to the application gateway can be static, which will not change over its lifecycle. It allows you to add, remove, or update HTTP request and response headers on application gateway. It enables application gateway to survive zonal failures, which allows increasing the resilience of applications. It also provides improvement in performance during the provisioning and during the configuration of update activities. If we talk about the cost, V2 SKU may work out to be overall cheaper for you in relative to V1 SKU. Now, Sitecore Managed Cloud is also supporting WAF v2. In case you have WAF v1, then you can raise a request to migrate from WAF v1 to WAF v2, Sitecore Managed Cloud team will be responsible to migrate your existing WAF configuration to WAF v2. It's a time for a managed cloud standard case study now. A couple of months ago, we had a managed cloud standard customer for whom we received multiple managed cloud standard alert notification that their CPU and memory was spiking high on their content delivery nodes. This started causing intermittent site outages for them. They were receiving large number of requests, so we scaled up the CD web app to see if that would help. But no, scaling didn't help. In order to dig further, we checked the application logs to analyze the traffic and showed the customer that how the traffic looked suspicious as customers' users were only in US and were not based on these regions such as Russia, China, Ukraine, Indonesia, etc. This traffic can also be due to bot attacks. On the basis of our observations, we recommended application gateway with WAF v2 and enable it for them as it provides application and website protection against attacks such as SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and HTTP protocol violation. This is done through rules that are defined based on the OWASP core rule sets. It also monitors attacks against the web application by using a real-time WAF logs. These logs are integrated with Azure Monitor to track WAF alerts and easily monitor the trends. It also guards against Layer 7 DDoS attacks. Roughly 20% of all internet traffic comes from bad bots. They do things like scraping, scanning, and looking for vulnerabilities in your web applications. We enabled a managed bot protection rule set for their WAF to block or log requests from unknown malicious IP addresses. We also applied geofilter traffic rule to allow or block certain countries, regions from gaining access to the applications. Last but not the least, we also enabled SSL and TLS termination, after which traffic typically flows unencrypted to the backend server. This feature allows web servers to be unburdened from costly encryption and decryption overhead. As a result of which, the bad traffic was decreased, memory and CPU utilization was stable, and the customer was able to scale back down, which also saved cost consumption and the crises were averted. But just enabling the WAF isn't all that one does. There is a process of enablement, integration with the environment, and usually takes cycles of tuning and evaluation to find the right solution for each customer. I'll hand it over to Ashish to discuss about Azure Front Door and its features.
Thanks, Gurveen. There are several services available within Microsoft Azure that focus on traffic management and load balancing workloads. Azure Front Door is another member of Load Balancer and Traffic Router, which provides a great service for commercial websites with complex topology, fault tolerance, and geo distribution. It enables you to define, manage, and monitor the global routing for your web traffic by optimizing for best performance and instant global failover. In our next slide, we will discuss more about the features of Azure Front Door. Azure Front Door uses Anycast protocol and split TCP, which accelerate application performance. It uses reverse proxy, which provides faster failover support. It allows URL-based routing. It offers multiple site hosting, which means you can have two different domains configured on the same front door. It has session affinity feature, which is useful to keep a user session on the same application backend. It provides features like caching and WAF. It allows URL rewrite feature. It supports IPv6 and HTTP2 traffic. It also provides TLS protocol termination and SSL offload. In the past, one would need to use 3 Azure services to meet requirements like global traffic distribution, WAF security, and caching. Let's assume we have Sitecore Managed Cloud in two different regions, then we might need Azure CDN for caching, Application Gateway WAF for security, and Traffic Manager for global traffic distribution. Just imagine other ways to build up something like this on Azure. It would be complex work, and I'm sure it will be more expensive. This complex architecture can now be simplified by using Azure Front Door Service, which deliver all those Azure services into one unified solution. I was surprised how easy it is to get Azure Front Door up and running. It took just few hours to integrate with Sitecore Managed Cloud. I think for global critical site, Azure Front Door is perfect choice. With the help of Azure Front Door, we can monitor and manage traffic, perform load balancing, and ensure secure connection for our Sitecore Managed Cloud. Now let's have a quick look into different Azure Load Balancer. Azure Front Door and Traffic Manager are distributing traffic globally, while Azure Application Gateway and Load Balancer distribute regionally. Front Door and Application Gateway uses reverse proxy to route traffic, while Traffic Manager uses DNS routing and Load Balancer provides network level distribution. The features like SSL offloading and web application firewall is available in Azure Front Door and Application Gateway, while these features are not available in Traffic Manager and Load Balancer. One additional benefit of Front Door is it also supports caching, while no other load balancer supports caching. When we compare Azure Front Door and Azure CDN capabilities, we found that the performance of caching of both the services are quite same. Both Azure CDN and Front Door share the same POPs, but their caching mechanisms work differently. If your goal is to use Front Door as a content delivery network for static files, then Azure CDN makes more sense. Azure Front Door can cache files up to 8 MB, where you should think that this is mainly done to optimize the delivery of your web application. While Azure CDN, its core function is caching. It is built to ensure that your files would be distributed worldwide and delivered from a local POP. Several enterprise customers in Sitecore Managed Cloud prefer Azure Front Door, and that is where our managed service support is focusing on new innovation and expansion of our services. Now I will hand it over to Gurveen, and she will summarize our Azure networking session.
Thank you, Ashish. As we have reached towards the end of our session, I would like to conclude that Azure Networking not only enhances the performance and security, but also provides a solid network architecture to Sitecore Managed Cloud environment. Sitecore Managed Cloud standard customers can raise cases or requests in Sitecore support portal to set up Azure CDN, WAF, and Azure Front Door, or for issues related to it. You can always reach out to us. In case you have any questions, please raise a web form by scanning the QR code, and we will get back to you as soon as we can.